I came across this illustration yesterday, and I've seen it before, and then I saw it again yesterday, and right away this just jumped out at me. And once again, it's 47 degrees. There's the compass, there's the square down there, and there's other information in here. This illustration was for a book. I don't know if it's the name of the book or the name of this illustration, but as far as I know, it's from 1618. It's called Atalanta Fugiens, and the illustrator's name is Matthaus Merian the Elder. I believe he was from Switzerland. He was a great artist. He was a great illustrator, and he was very familiar with geometry as well, which is what I'm about to prove in this video. That's what this is about. It's not actually about the book and that kind of information. Obviously there is a bit of esoterical kind of information here, but he's left a number of clues here. As you'll see here, there's a hexagon or a hexagram, and there's an octagon. There's the square. There's like a protractor. Obviously he's holding the compass, but what you'll notice here is the compass is pointing to the center of this circle, which is exactly the top of that square, right? So that's at the diameter, and the top of that square is exactly at the diameter. In the other compass point here, you'll notice where it's not at the tip of this triangle, it's actually the circle exceeds the periphery of this triangle, you might say. So he's pointing to something here. That's a clue there, and that he's pointing to something which is just off to the center here, right? It's not directly above, and this is also done purposefully, and so I investigated the geometrical stuff in this illustration, and so I'm going to pause, and then we're going to go to my work. Okay, so I'm going to try to run through this quickly because apparently my SD card is running out here. First of all, the center of this circle was touching exactly the top of that square, yeah? And to get a perfect square in here, I had to find out how far this triangle extends. Because I first tried it with the two diameters, with the 22 and a 24, but as you can see here, the 24, it didn't fit to the bottom of that square. So I had to go one more diameter, and that turns out to be a 26 diameter. So we have a 26 diameter, a 24 diameter, and a 22, and that fits the triangle in here, and then that's how you get the perfect square. So that's something else I had to find out. And there was two things that he was pointing to up here. He was showing you that the circle extends the periphery of this circle, which is the tip of that triangle. He was pointing to the 26 diameter circle, and he was pointing to something just off to the side here, yeah? And what that was if you take a line from this corner down here, and you run it straight through the middle of this triangle, because this is exactly 11 here, right? 11 is the radius, so it's 11. So at 5.5, right in the center, if you take a line going through that point, extending it to that circle, that's exactly where he was pointing to. So that's very interesting, yeah? And when you do that, you get a perfect triangle in here. You see? Isn't that incredible? I mean, he was pointing to two pieces of information. Not just one, but he was pointing to two things. And I had to figure that out. I was like, oh, let's just try drawing a line through the center here. And sure enough, it gives you a perfect triangle, equilateral triangle. I mean, quite a genius, this fellow, if in my opinion. That illustration is just, I marvel at the genius level of how some of those guys did stuff back then. And okay, what else did I want to talk about? So as we know, the 47 degrees gives you a perfect 7 points on a 22 diameter circle, yeah? So I mark those. And when I mark those, 2 of those points from the 7 are exactly in line with the sides of that square. That's something else that's incredible. Um, and, um, and then I scribed the other 7 going from the opposite direction, and so that I have 14 points on here. And just so in case you're wondering, that's what all the red ones are. But I found that that's incredible that those sides of the square, they lined up exactly with 2 of the points from the from the 7. And so there's another piece of information in here. When you go from the corner of that square to one of these points from the 7 or the 14, that angle in there is a perfect 120. So it's a 120 and a 120. So you've got a perfect equilateral triangle, and you've got half of a hexagon, which was one of the pieces of information that he was pointing to in the bottom corner. And the octagon is when you take the diagonal in that square, to that line there. So that angle in there, of course, is a perfect 135 degrees. I mean, that was a pretty easy one, yeah? So I mean, this was a genius way of how that illustration showed that. I mean, he didn't want to give you this all in one, yeah. He left just enough clues in that illustration where you could kind of solve this puzzle, this geometrical puzzle. And I thought, what an absolute genius! Where he, the way he showed the compass thing, they're like, so I had to go find that. I was like, okay, what is that about? And that's what it was. He was pointing to the outer circle, which is a 26 diameter circle, and he was also pointing to the fact that there's something here that gives you that mark, and that was right in the middle of this of the top section of this triangle. So it's quite incredible. It's quite incredible. I'm just, like I said, I marvel at the genius of those people back then, because this is from 1618, and as you can see, that he was well, adversed in geometry to have referenced these things, because the way he pointed that this is in the middle, and then I had to go figure that out. It's like, okay, how do I get the square in here to work? Because when I just had the 24, it fell short, and I knew there was he was pointing to that the tip of the triangle was one circle, and then there was another circle, right? That was larger. Like, I got that much, but I had to go through this process to find out exactly what it was, and it was the 26, which goes right through that midpoint. And of course, he left the other clues there. He showed the octagon and the hexagram, and that's what that information was right there. He was saying, to get that point, you got to find that point, and then that will give you, a special kind of information. And then I also happened to find that one there, where you connect the corner of the square to one of those the points of 7, and that gives you a perfect 120 here and a 120 there. And of course, the octagon was the easier one of them all. That was just a diagonal to the square, and And you get your 135, another 135 on that side. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think I've missed anything here. But yeah, what a genius, some of these people were back then, especially this guy. Um, I can't really pronounce it. It's Matthaus Merian the Elder. I believe he was born in Switzerland or something like that. And so he was an artist, he was an illustrator, and he was well learned in sacred geometry. Um, yeah, and I think that concludes this video. And so after 400 years, I have, I have geometrically proven that his illustration is actually correct, and that the man is truly was a genius and a great artist and an amazing illustrator. Uh, all in one. Just a beautiful thing. Just a work of genius, and the guy was a genius. And 11:22, I'm going to stop.